with your host, Andrew Romanella.
Ba, ba, ba.
Ooh, hot take.
I don't think I'm good enough in this spot based on my own personal mental health, so I can't continue.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. Broadcast live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. We got you for the next 27 minutes and change, and we got an array of a show. You might want to call it a charcuterie board of a show here on The Rome Show. Follow us on the social media, The Rome Show 1, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, 12OZ Sports on YouTube and X. Those are the two primary ways that we can listen live and comment on the show. That's the number 12 OZ Sports. Follow it on YouTube, follow it on X, and you'll get all of the action. Andrew Romanella here as we are every day at 7 a.m. I hit a bunch of sounders this morning. I really wanted to alert the people that I'm back and I'm live because I wanted them excited for the show. We're going to talk a little Caitlin Clark today, not on the basketball court, though. I have a video to show you. Unbelievable. We'll talk some National Basketball Association on Tuesday night, the NBA Cup, AEIE, whatever, AKA in-season tournament started. The National Hockey League, the Winnipeg Jets continue to make history with their start. It is Thursday. That means it is Thursday night football. And I was thinking about this yesterday, right? And when I was in California, my brother was having a discussion with whether it was one of my sisters, it was my brother-in-law, it was somebody else. And the discussion was about football, the Super Bowl. And it was, what should be a national holiday? When should we have off? Should we have Columbus Day off? Should we have President's Day off? What holidays are worth it? All this other stuff. And we get on the Super Bowl. And the age-old conversation of the Super Bowl should be on a Saturday, or the day after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday comes up. And so my brother says, yeah, I think the Super Bowl should be on a Saturday. I don't think it should be on a Sunday. And my brother-in-law is like, absolutely not. Like, football is played on Sundays. It's football Sundays. And my brother goes, is it really? Because last time I checked, football gets played on Mondays, on Thursdays, on Saturdays, and on Sundays. And then actually this year we also had Friday. So the National Football League, by the end of the 2024-2025 season, will have played on Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then my brother, who we all know, Hockey with Rocky, every single Tuesday, right? He doubles down, which I thought was a really good point. And he goes, half the playoff games are played on a Saturday. And I was like, he's 1,000% right. There is no specific football day. Like, I get it, right? Football Sunday is football Sunday. That is the institution of football. That's how it started. But the way we've developed, the way the sport has grown the last 25 to 30 years, you're touching 5 days a week with National Football League regular season games. The only 2 days a week that really don't have a shot of getting National Football League games played on their date is Tuesday and Wednesday. So it really is kind of crazy. As you start getting deeper into the football calendar, the college football starts to take some shape a little bit here, okay? You're going to start to see that National Football League random games schedule. So it was a really funny conversation because it hit me again last night as I was getting ready for the show. I'm like, all right, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, what day of the week is it? Thursday? Oh, football. And it's like, oh, yeah, you know what? There's always football on. And that's what has gone on over the last 15 to 20 years. And if you listen to this show, I am a habitual person of stating that baseball is no longer America's pastime. The National Football League is America's pastime. And I think there's a lot that goes into that. But part of what we just talked about, them playing games on 4 of the 7 days out of the week, only happens because people want more football. We hope you want more Rome Show on a daily here, 12 OZ Sports. Remember to comment live on the show, YouTube or X, just like our guy Michael Day here, who comments in football we trust. And that is exactly how most Americans feel. And I know my guy Mike here and some others that listen to this show are not primary football people. Some baseball, some lacrosse, some hockey, some golf. We know Hockey with Rocky turns into hockey with race cars every once in a while. So it is a very big commonplace for people to maybe love a sport more for whatever reason, but it is most commonplace for most Americans to want to, of the 4 major sports, watch football or be more invested in football than the other sports. YouTube, X, 12 OZ Sports, comment on the show. Excuse me. All right, here we roll. So I mentioned before Caitlin Clark, and we're talking about sports, and oftentimes the quarterback position in football is considered the hardest position in sports, okay? And I think that there's a real argument for the catching position in Major League Baseball. So you might be saying to me right now, Andrew, how'd you get here? Right? We're hitting week 11 of the National Football League season. Week number 2 of the college football playoff has just been released. There's a big controversy with Georgia and who should possibly be where. And you're sitting here talking to me about what is the hardest position in sports. And I'm going to tell you the reason is because the video I'm about to show you of the best female basketball player on this planet right now trying to swing a golf club. Here is on the screen right now at a celebrity open, and I need you to watch what goes on here. Bam! Oh! Yeah, you heard. Ooh, we're going to replay that for the people. And I want everybody at home that is embarrassed with their golf game to watch the fans on the left side right here. Here they go. Oh! Right over the top of the spectator. This is the best female basketball player on the planet right now. And when we put a golf club in her hand, she almost decapitates 40 people. Here's one more look at it. Just so when you go grab a golf club later on and you're the average person, you realize how hard this sport is. Caitlin Clark, right to someone's dome. Oh, so close. And I got to tell you, I saw this video. I'm like, oh, man. I feel so much better about myself. But then I thought long and hard. I'm like, is hitting a golf ball consistently actually the hardest thing to do in sports? Right? Like, what task, what thing do you do? What attribute of a sport makes it the hardest sport? And then I said to myself, well, maybe the hardest sport is not necessarily the question. Maybe it's what is the most translatable sport to athleticism, right? Like, how do I state that something is more difficult than something else? And I said to myself, well, maybe hitting a golf ball is the hardest singular thing to do in sports, because if we constantly watch videos of the greatest athletes in the world trying to play golf, and it looks like they've never been an athlete before, there has to hold some weight there on how hard of a sport that must be. I feel the same way about hitting a baseball. Not the specific full sport of baseball, but the action of hitting a baseball. I believe that is the hardest thing to do in sports. I think hitting a golf ball and hitting a baseball are the hardest things to do in sports. I'm not saying that playing baseball is harder than playing the quarterback position, right? I'm not saying that hitting a golf ball is harder than trying to drop a 37-yard pass into a small window. I'm not saying hitting a baseball or hitting a golf ball are easier than landing a flip on a balance beam. Not at all, right? But I'm trying to think to myself, every single person can put a golf club in their hand and can put a baseball bat in their hands. Everyone can put a basketball in their hands. Everyone can kick a soccer ball, right? And so the one singular task off of those that is the hardest, and I believe hitting a golf ball and or hitting a baseball is that task. The position of quarterback, right? The sport of football, the position of catcher, those things might be harder, right? But just take a common action in sports, throwing a football, kicking a soccer ball, saving something, dunking. That's only reserved for like 80%, 20% of the population. But I want to know what people think, though, because I'd love to know. What do you think the hardest thing to do in sports is? Do you think it is kicking a field goal? Is it kicking a 52-yard field goal to win a game? Do you think it's teeing off at Augusta with fans rowed about 45 yards and you could possibly look like Caitlin Clark? Do you think it's hitting a game-winning three, right? Do you think it's just hitting a fastball down the middle at 98 miles per hour from 60 feet, 6 inches away? Do you think it's PKs in soccer? Is the action of playing goalie, PKs in soccer, the singular hardest action in a sport? I'd love to know. The Rome Show run on Instagram and Twitter, but on Instagram, we specifically have the questions tab up on our Instagram right now because I asked 2 questions. The first one was, of these 4 sports, what's the hardest? Baseball, football, golf, or ice hockey? That was the first poll that I asked. And then the second one I asked was, what is the hardest sport to play? All right. And now I'm asking, and now I'm talking about action. So I want to get an idea here of what the people think. You know, is the sport that we watch the most in football also easily equated to what the people think is the hardest thing? Or are there sports and things that people like to watch more, but actions or other things in a sport, as we mentioned before, like saving a soccer ball or hitting a sand shot out of the sand in golf, that are a whole lot harder? So just wanted to open up your mind here on a Thursday and get a little bit of debate going on here. And you can respond on the social media. You can comment live on YouTube or X12OZ Sports, and we can have a healthy discussion. Before we move on, our friend Michael Day writes, I can't skate, so hockey would have to be the toughest to me. Mike, it's really funny that you say that because my brother says this all the time. The reason why ice hockey should be considered the hardest sport, or if not the hardest, at least always in the conversation of the top 3, is because half the country can't even skate. So if you can't even step on the ice with blades on your feet, how could you even become into the realm of playing ice hockey? So, Mike, great point right there. And I feel the same way about baseball. I love when people are like, oh, baseball's easy. I'm like, okay, here's this wooden thing. And I'm not even that position over there, but I'm going to go stand on that little hill and I'm going to throw to you. And you're going to realize how hard this is. Now imagine if someone that's actually good at that position out there is throwing the baseball at you. Let's put Garrett Cole out there. And the average dude that never played baseball, but maybe played 3 other sports, I can promise you the hardest thing for them to do will be hit a baseball in that moment. And Mike's point about hockey, it's like, well, yeah, but at least everyone can stand in the batter's box. Not everyone can even stand on the ice and skates. And it's like, does that automatically make it the hardest one? Because you eliminate half the population that can't even do a quarter of the task of the sport. So it's an interesting conversation, and everybody's perspective based on what sports they've played in their lifetime go into this conversation and whether or not you feel like this sport's harder than that sport, or that task in this sport's harder than that task in this sport, or that position is harder than this position in this sport, right? And there's no answer. There's no one answer. I just want to know, because right now I'm sitting here going, playing quarterback, playing catcher, being a pro golfer, playing ice hockey, maybe being a NASCAR driver, like those are up there. It's like, God, it's got to be super difficult. Like I can't, the average person probably can't just like jump into those situations. Whereas, and this is going to sound dumb, and I'm not trying to sound dumb, but I could in theory just jump in and start playing basketball. I could start just playing hockey. I could start just playing baseball, right? At the simplest of form. So it's just such an interesting debate, and everyone's got a different feeling on it. And the Rome Show wants to know. We want to know. What are your thoughts? Okay. Toughest sport to play, toughest action in sport, toughest position. We don't care. Give us your vibes. The Rome Show 1, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, 12OZ Sports, everywhere. You need to follow it. We need to take a commercial break, but when we get back, we have so much to do. I got highlights from the NBA Cup. I got highlights from last night's buzzer-beating miss by Jalen Brunson. And then I got some stats for you and some picks for Thursday Night Football. So there's still a lot to do here on the Rome Show. Thursday, November 14th, 2024. It's 7:18 in Succossona, New Jersey. And we're hitting a commercial break. We'll back after this.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right. At 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Yeah, the Rome Show, 12OZ Sports. We're live, YouTube, X, you know the deal. Follow us, subscribe, comment, tell me I'm good, tell me I'm bad, whatever. We just love your opinion. The Rome Show 1, all the other social medias. All right, we got that out of the way. We got about 9 to 10 minutes, so we're going to have some fun here. I'm not going to lie, I'm having a great time on this show today. I hope you're having fun with us too. Thank you to Michael and the people that are willing to comment on a daily basis on this show. We love the interaction. It gives us more purpose when we're talking on the mic here. Sometimes when you're a radio show host, you're staring at the wall behind your camera. You're talking into a microphone. I don't have a partner except on Tuesdays. And there's not much indicator, right? Like outside of comments and what you see after the show, there's not much indicator. You're kind of like, man, I mean, I think I sound good right now. Feels like a great show. What a good point that was. Oh, I go warm up my coffee in between the commercial break. And I'm like, you're like bobbing your head. I feel really good today. Like, oh man, I'm hosting the shit out of this show. Pardon my language. And then it's like, but am I? Like, are people listening? Was that a really good point? I have no clue. So when you interact with the show, so be it live or not live, you give us some life here because we're like, word, somebody's out there. And we said something that made their brain tick. And that's all we're trying to do every single day. It's only 30 minutes. It's only 30 minutes. We've built this show daily for the people like myself that spend time in an ADD-filled mental space. And generally 30 minutes is all we can focus. Focused is where most National Basketball Association teams are right now because we are hitting the thick of month number 2 of the regular season and the NBA in-season tournament, or the NBA Cup, as they call it, started on Tuesday. So for those that don't know what the NBA Cup is, it is a month-long tournament. Think Premier League soccer or La Liga or any other soccer tournament you've ever witnessed on TV, and you're like, what tournament championship are we playing today? And it's like, oh, well, like you have like 17 different tournaments that happen during your regular season, and then that plays into stuff. That's what the NBA is trying to do here, okay? They're trying to create something that goes on, this is the second year now, that exists in the regular season that two things happen: creates more interest for the sport, and then creates more interest from its players to create more care level for the regular season. So last year, the NBA Cup happens. The Los Angeles Lakers win it. Probably the best thing for the NBA. They come up with all these crazy courts and all this really cool stuff. And in my opinion, it's a slight success. Right? There's nothing really negative I can say about it. I personally think the extreme colored courts and changing up things and making it look aesthetically different than a regular NBA game, genius. I mean, personally, genius. So I'm like, all right, I go into Tuesday, and I wasn't live on Wednesday, but I'm like, all right, on Thursday, I'm going to watch the Tuesday games as much as I possibly can, and I'm going to get an idea of what this NBA Cup is like in year 2. Because year 1, you're going to put your toe in the water. Like, it is what it is. But year 2, you're like, all right, what's the deal here? And then I watched this from Steph Curry. And Steph Curry's face right here, okay? This man has won multiple NBA championships, multiple most valuable players, is considered the greatest three-point shooter in National Basketball Association history. You could argue that Steph Curry could be one of the greatest point guards, one of the greatest scorers, one of the greatest players. Top 5 all time, top 10 all time. That's how good Steph Curry has been in his career. That's not hyperbole. Comment me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. My point is, I don't know if it's the NBA in-season tournament. I don't know if it's the fact that they lost Klay Thompson. He's playing against them. I don't know if it's the fact that they haven't been good the last 3 years to win a championship, and Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors are like the basketball version right now of the New York Yankees. You expect a championship every single time you step on the floor. But all I know, I have to say to myself, if I'm in the front office of the National Basketball Association, I'm saying to myself, we got something here. Okay? Now, I think Steph Curry's the type of dude, and here's another clip from Boston, where Onyeka Okongwu wins the game for the Hawks against the Celtics, and you see their crazy green floor. But to finish the point, it's important for these dudes, okay? Not everybody's getting paid. So when you win the NBA in-season tournament, you win some money. But secondly, it's no longer a world where, at least in my opinion, in the NBA, 1 or 2 teams is going to win. Like, think about that 4 or 5 year stretch where LeBron James was on the Heat with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Think about the stretch where Steph Curry and Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors arrived, and it was like Steph, Clay, Andre Iguodala, right? Like, you just went down the list and you're like, oh, wow, this is like a good player. This team, and they were going to be there for like 6 to 7 straight years. Think to other Miami Heat runs where you're like, dude, Eric Spoelstra always has them there, right? there was a time in the NBA where you could just look at a team and go, yeah, they're going to probably be in the finals. The Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal Lakers, they're going to be in the finals. The Boston Celtics with Larry Bird and the Magic Johnson Lakers, yeah, they're going to be in the finals. You could maybe say that about Tatum and the Celtics. Maybe, right? We believed that they were the favorite last year. We probably still feel like they're a favorite this year. But the National Basketball Association has been historically dominated by teams at the top. Whereas now, at least you can kind of see it by who's won the championship in some of the last few years, right? The Bucks, right? We've got Tatum, his first championship in his 10-year career. You just think about all of these things, and you're like, wow, there's some parity in basketball. And then to finish the conversation, you're watching Steph Curry, you're watching the excitement in this NBA in-season tournament. Like, maybe they got something here. Maybe it's not necessarily the NBA Cup per se. Maybe it's not necessarily the floor or winning that title or winning that money in the middle of the regular season, but maybe it's just one of those things that kind of gets you locked a little bit more because it's slightly different. The environment's slightly different. The floor is slightly different. It's meant to feel slightly different. And usually that brings out the highest level of elite level competitors. And then from there, you just let it take over. And now the rest of the season, you have to think if the second month of the season, every Tuesday and Friday is this NBA Cup thing, and we're getting a little juice into that. Yeah, you're probably going to have a little bit more competitive regular season in the NBA, and there's going to be a little bit more parity across the board. The Western Conference might be better from team 1 to team 10, and the Eastern Conference might be quote unquote worse from team 4 to team 10, but I don't think that means that any team is insanely dominant. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers are 13-0 right now, and I don't even believe they're the team that I would say might most likely win this championship. Long way to go, but there's just so much that could happen. But I also think that is the point. You can have stars spread across the league, and there's so many different teams that could possibly win it. And then last night, it's been an exciring week in the NBA. Last night, Jalen Brunson did everything but have this ball fall through the hoop. Listen, I'm going to play that back one more time. Listen to how sad everybody is.
2 seconds to go. Brunson turns, puts it up for the
win. The whole crowd, everybody. And you hear, I think it's Kevin Harlan. I can't remember exactly who. He says, how did that ball not go through? I just wanted to show you that one last night because that was the tightest game down the stretch in the National Basketball Association. And that Knicks team continuing to find its way. Won the night before, lost last night. Jalen Brunson misses the buzzer beater, though be it great shot. And the Knicks move back to under 500. By the way, the Detroit Pistons, I want to give you this before we go into Thursday Night Football on our picks. The Detroit Pistons last year finished the season 14-68. That's how bad they were at basketball. Last night they lost to the Bucks, but that's not why I'm telling you this. It's because I noticed their record. They're already 5-8 this year after a 14-win season. They're 9 total wins away with roughly 65 games remaining. So no matter what, Detroit fans, wow, definitely not going to be as bad of a year. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the day. We got Thursday Night Football, which is also, as you know, our picks on a Thursday. Let's get it going.
Ba 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 na na ba 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 na 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 na.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to make it quick because I talked a long time on other topics, but that is okay. We had the New York Rangers money line on Tuesday, lost. We had the Calgary Flames money line, lost, but we did have Sam Reinhart with a point. He had a goal and an assist. even though the Panthers lost to the Devils. 142 and 114 is my overall record. The Commanders are at the Eagles tonight, 7-3 Washington against 7-2 Philadelphia. Right now, Philly is favored in this game by 3.5 points. The total amount of points that Las Vegas is telling us that this game's going to be is 49.5. Okay, so I went on to Banana Duel outside of ESPN Bets, and I wanted to see what the difference was. Banana Duel, I got this at 48.5. So that will play into what my pick is going to be today. The Commanders, quite possibly the best offense in the National Football League. The Philadelphia Eagles, quite possibly playing the best football in the National Football League. Winners of 5 of their last 5. Saquon Barkley is 9 yards away from 1,000 yards heading into week 11. He's averaging 110.1 yards per game, and the Washington Commanders are 28th in the league against the run. So that is the primary matchup you're trying to watch out tonight. The Eagles run game, two-headed monster, Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, who's had a rushing touchdown in each of his last 5 games. And then the bad side of the Commanders, the run defense, which Dan Quinn, great defensive mind, so for a singular game could possibly figure it out. But numbers don't lie, and they are the worst run defense in the league. So how are we going to pick it? Here's how we're going to pick it. We are going to take the Eagles at the -3.5. I've believed in the Commanders all year, but this is that stretch for the Eagles where I think I want to jump on their train and I want to ride with them. I'm going to take Saquon Barkley over 110.5 rushing and receiving yards. He's averaging 110 on the ground every game to begin with. So give me rush plus receive, 110 for Saquon Barkley. I'm going to take the Banana Duel over at 48.5, and then I'm going to take Terry McLaurin at over 4.5 receptions on the day. That is my 4-pack in the National Football League on a Thursday, and that is your daily
Banana.
And that has been the Rome Show on 12ozsports.com. We broadcast live on YouTube and X. Follow us everywhere. I tell you this all the time. We're back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. live. Be electric today. I am Andrew Romanella saying peace.
Thank you for listening.